CD versus vinyl Grogu, is this your idea of a joke? Hey everybody, this is TJR. If this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. If not, welcome back. And it's time for another edition of CD versus vinyl. Only this time we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing a CD versus vinyl comparison. And today we're going to be doing a comparison of British Steel by Judas Priest. This was the band's 6th studio album, and it was released in 1980. And so what we have here is, first, we have a modern 21st century remastering of the album here. This features 2 bonus tracks, a track entitled Red, White, and Blue, and Grinder Live. And let me just show this to you here real quick. And here is the interior. We got some nice printing on the CD there, some nice design. And there is a booklet here. Let me pull this out for you too. The booklet contains the lyrics and some photo inserts here, some small photo inserts to illustrate the lyrics pages. And there we go. Also, I noticed this CD, the tracks were in a different order from the 2 LPs that we're working with today. And next, of course, we have a modern 21st century pressing of British Steel. And this one here, there is, I'll show you the sleeve here. It's very nice. We've, of course, got the cover art on one side. We've got the lyrics and liner notes on the other side. And, of course, I have the album here in an anti-static sleeve to help better protect it. And this is also a modern 21st century pressing of the album here to compare. But in addition, we also have a vintage copy here. This is from 1980. And this one was just in a plain paper sleeve. I doubt it was the original sleeve. This was one of those $5 record deals I got at that one insane yard sale I went to a while back, where I just scored a whole bunch of vintage albums. And let me just show you this one. This one has the capital red label here. And the seam here on the dust jacket is split. I really should I do keep these in covers, outer sleeve covers, and I'm putting it in here for right now, but I really should just put it in this outer sleeve on the back end there to keep that seam from getting any worse. And then, of course, on this one here, we have the album art on the label, as you can see. So a little bit different there, aesthetically speaking. But let's talk about sound. Let's talk about how these sounded. So the first thing I did, I compared this CD to this modern vinyl copy and gave them a back-to-back comparison. I have to say, first of all, that I think this modern LP pressing here, in comparison, sounds a little bit muddier when compared to this CD edition. Now, before you jump ahead of me, let me just say here, I'm not saying this record sounds bad. It sounds quite good, actually. But when I went back to back and listened to this, same track, switching back and forth, I felt this sounded a little more precise, a little cleaner, a little sharper, a little brighter. Brighter can sometimes be good, bright can sometimes be bad. I think that with metal, brighter can be to your advantage. I just felt like the instruments came out a bit more than they did on this record pressing, which I think sounds good. Again, I'm just saying when you compare them back to back, this difference that I'm referring to is small. It's not a huge difference. So it's not like I put on this record and said, oh my God, this is just muddy. Oh. No, I put it on, listen, yeah, sounds good. Then you do the comparison, okay, this is a bit different. A little brighter, a little clearer, a little sharper. And for this music, I think it works. And so I think that this CD, when compared to this modern pressing, this CD wins by a small margin, just a small margin. And once again, your individual results may vary. Your listening tastes may be different. You might find that this just sounds a little deeper, less trebly, which may be to your liking. It just depends. Like I said, we're all different. But it's a minimal difference. So I really don't think it's major. But based on what I've said, I think you would have to decide for yourself if you think that you're going to be more inclined to the album, the LP, the modern LP pressing, or the modern CD pressing. Now, we also compared it to this vintage copy here. Now here, it becomes a much tighter race, in my opinion. I could not believe how good this 80s LP sounded. And this was a $5 record. It was not horrible when I looked at it, but it was definitely not like I would call clean. Dust and debris you can dust off, but there were lots of fingerprints on this album. There were some other marks too. I don't know if it was just dirt ingrained or actual scratches, but it played fine. No skips. Maybe a tiny bit of snap, crackle here and there in between the tracks, but nothing serious. Maybe a little bit, if there was a quiet passage in a song, I might hear one of the that's it in the background. Again, nothing serious. Of course, with vintage, it's just going to vary. Look at it first, see how it looks. But it just serves to remind me the resilience of LPs and that these older records are tougher than you think. They can take more than you think, and they last longer than I think people give them credit for. But getting back to the comparison here, this race was terribly, terribly close. This was definitely sharper and brighter than this modern pressing here. And it seemed to have all the same bite that this one had. There were moments where it was very hard to distinguish between the two. I think I might just slide a tiny bit towards the LP. This is because this felt more compressed in the right way, where you're really helping to define the sharpness of the instruments against each other. And here, this might have been compressed a little bit more in the wrong way. But I'm talking very small difference here. If you already have this, it may not be worth it to look for this vintage copy. And again, vintage copies can vary. You never know sometimes. One might have been better handled than another over the decades. But listening to these two, and any snap or crackle aside, which was minimal, for the most part, I felt myself leaning towards this. I felt just a little bit more delineation between the instruments, a little bit more oomph on the drums. The guitars, sometimes more bite here, depending on the track, sometimes maybe a little more bite here, but overall I think this kind of wins, but very, very small margin. There was one little thing though that I want to point out. On the, of course, classic track Breaking the Law, after the second verse, there is this moment of silence where you hear a hit on the drum, and then there's this volume slide with the guitar, electric guitar, where basically the effect is achieved by hitting the guitar chord prior to bringing up the volume. You have the volume all the way down on your guitar, you hit the guitar chord, then you bring up the volume, maybe use a volume pedal, but you create this whoosh of where it comes out at you. And here was an interesting thing that was consistent on both these LP versions here, but was consistent on both these LP versions when heard against the CD version. That moment after the second verse, before we lead into the second chorus of Breaking the Law, when you hear that volume whoosh on the LP, it feels like it's coming from left to right, like it's going like that when I stand back and listen to it. On the CD, it felt like it was coming just more at you like this. And there, I think I even felt where you see this whoosh of volume and then a second whoosh kind of coming behind it that I didn't hear on these LPs. Again, that might have something to do with how they were panned, but very different. And I was kind of surprised by that. It almost feels like you could only get that effect if you remixed it versus remastering it. It does state here that it is, though, a remaster, not a remix. And all the other tracks I compared sounded identical mix. Just that one moment. So I guess that's something that was just brought out somehow in the remastering process. If anybody can comment on that, I'd appreciate it. I'm not a recording engineer. Although I have participated in recording sessions as a musician, I'm not a recording engineer. I don't claim to know all the tricks of the trade. But I would say that as far as the vintage, it's a small margin, but it is a margin where I feel at times I'm leaning more towards this than this, but it's very, very close. Very close. And if you have this already, you know, it's at your discretion. You may feel exactly the opposite, that by a small margin the CD wins. It's very small, and that's why I'm really prefacing all this and making sure you understand this is not a major difference, just a very tiny difference. So yeah, and given the fact that this is a vintage vinyl, harder to get, you never know from copy to copy what it might be like. If there's going to be skips on it, you just don't know, or any huge gaping pops, you never know. So, but for this test here today, this comes out just a little bit on top of this CD. Sit up straight, Grogu. Guy, I thought I raised you better. Over this CD, and this CD wins out over this modern pressing of the album. So there you have it, there you go. Have you made similar comparisons on your system? What were your results? What did you think? Please share it here in the comments, be it modern, vintage, whatever. Maybe you have one of the older releases on CD. They can sound different sometimes. Let us know. As always, if you like this series or the other videos I do here on this channel, please click like, hit subscribe if you haven't done so already, hit the bell notification so you never miss a video. And if you'd like to give an extra layer of support or an extra level of support, please go to the Patreon page, which is patreon.com/TJR the original. Make a monthly pledge. Patron supporters receive exclusive weekly videos that are not available here on the channel, or they get sneak preview access to videos, selected videos, prior to them being posted on the channel. And but other than that, I just want to say thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate all the comments I've been getting on this CD versus vinyl series. It feels good to know that you appreciate it, and it encourages me to make more of them. So thank you very much for all the great words of encouragement and your thoughts and feedback on this series. And even if you like the series, I think it's great. If there's anything that you think, hey, have you thought about talking about this in a future episode? Have you ever thought about looking at this aspect of the record? Please leave it in the comments, because you never know. There may have been something I overlooked, and you might have a really great suggestion. So I'm always open to hear that. Everybody, thank you so much for just making it to the end of the video. That helps a great deal. And we'll see you in the next video. I hope you all stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.